TFA fam, appreciate you rocking with me. No time to waste. Let's go ahead and just dive right into our consensus Week 10 wide receiver rankings. Kicking things off with the wide receiver ones. We have Steph Diggs at 1, followed by Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Chris Olave to round out our top 12. The only thing to mention with these wide receiver ones, the big one is Stephon Diggs. Obviously, if Josh Allen were to miss this week, that's going to bump him down. He's still going to probably be in the wide receiver 2 range for us if that were to happen, but obviously takes a huge hit if Josh Allen is unable to go. Let's go ahead and just go right into our wide receiver 2s, leading things off with Amari Cooper at 13, followed by DK Metcalf, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, Josh Palmer, Christian Kirk, DJ Moore, Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel, Gabe Davis, and Terry McLaurin. The reason why Deebo is so low here, I have him a little bit lower in my rankings just because I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be able to play. If he is able to play, he's going to jump up into that fringe wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 territory. But a couple of the guys that I wanted to touch on here. Let's talk about Josh Palmer. This one, regardless of whether or not Keenan Allen returns in Week 10, Mike Williams is still going to be out, so Palmer's still very much in play against a Niners team that has given up the 11th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. Palmer has seen 22 targets in his last 2 games, catching 17 of them for over 160 yards. Amari Cooper is someone I am higher on than Kev for Week 10, but this dude has just been really good this year. He does have 2 dud games, but there's only 3 total games where he has not been a wide receiver 2 or better, and only 4 games this year where he hasn't been a wide receiver 1. He's 14th in target share, 6th in air yard share, 10th in red zone targets, and now gets a matchup against the Dolphins, who have given up the 15th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. And this game is currently tied for the 2nd highest total on the week, so you can fire Amari Cooper up with confidence. And the last guy here, Devonta Smith, more of a boom-bust wide receiver 2, only because it's either going to be him or A.J. Brown who pops off. We haven't really seen both of them go off in the same game. A lot of that having to do with how consistently Dallas Goedert has been involved and how good he has been this year. But the Commanders have given up the 7th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers, and both of their starting corners are in the top 12 in terms of receiving yards allowed when targeted. So I think you can fire him up, but a little bit more volatile than you would like your wide receiver 2s to be. On to our wide receiver 3s, we have Allen Lazard, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Curtis Samuel, Darnell Mooney, Courtland Sutton, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Rondell Moore, George Pickens, and Mecole Hardman to round out our top 36. Some guys to talk about here. Allen Lazard, it's not a fantastic spot for Green Bay, and we especially don't love seeing the under being hammered, absolutely hammered, the way that it has been in this game. That total opened up at 49 and has been bet down all the way to 43. But the thing working in Allen Lazard's favor is he is damn near the only thing out there for Aaron Rodgers to throw to, and especially in terms of wide receivers that he trusts. Lazard is very quietly wide receiver 14 in points per game. He has at least 8 targets in 4 of his last 5, and he has touchdowns in every game that he's been active, but 2. Speaking of low game totals, let's talk about Rondell Moore. Only 5 games have a lower total than the Cardinals-Rams divisional matchup in Week 10, but the Rams are 3rd in rush DVOA and 22nd in pass DVOA. The Rams have also given up the 13th most fantasy points per game to wide receivers, and Rondell Moore does have 18 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's turned into 15 catches, 161 yards, and a score. Some options you can turn to that are outside of our top 36. DeAndre Carter for the Chargers. Now, this one obviously completely relies on whether Keenan Allen plays or not, as Carter is strictly a slot receiver, but we did see him go 5 for 53 last week in Keenan Allen's absence. And then on that note, if you're real desperate, if you need a super deep play, you can look at Michael Bandy. He played 80% of the snaps in Week 9 for the Chargers, and of the 55 offensive snaps he played, 71% of those were on the outside. So again, if you need to really dig down there, you're in a deep league, you can't throw him out there because, again, obviously Mike Williams will be out. So whether or not Keenan Allen comes back, that's not going to affect Bandy on the outside. Donovan Peoples-Jones. I feel a little bit better about this play if Njoku misses week 10, but you can still throw him in there if you don't have many other better options. DPJ does have at least 70 yards in 4 of his last 5. In the game where he didn't hit that mark, he did have 50. So obviously you want to pay attention to what happens with Njoku, whether he's good to go or not coming back from his injury, but he's still a decent play if you need him. Last, certainly least, what makes me feel gross inside, but Chase Claypool. I am the homegrown Steelers hater and the Claypool anti-truther, but the dude just saw 7 opportunities in his first game with the Bears. What makes that even more impressive is he only played 26 snaps. Now, obviously, that type of usage rate isn't going to continue, but his snap share should continue to increase. They obviously wanted to get him involved right away. It's not like they really have any other choice. They have nothing outside of Darnell Mooney and I guess Cole Kmet in terms of passing options. But this game with Detroit is tied for the 2nd highest total in the week, and the Bears have the 6th highest implied point total overall. That is going to wrap up the Week 10 wide receiver ranking show. Appreciate you rocking with me. Please hit us with a sub and a like if you have yet to do so. Any questions you have, go ahead and drop them in the comments below, or you can join our TFA Fantasy Football Discord. Absolutely free of charge, no strings attached. We're talking Devy, Dynasty, Redraft, betting, props, DFS, all that over there. Go ahead and jump in there. Hope you guys have a great Week 10, and I'll talk to you soon.